Welcome to Combat Sports Talk, a podcast dedicated to UFC and Bellator discussion, the MMA community, and combat sports in general. I'm your host, Ryan Smith, and joining me this week is the entire Combat Sports Talk crew. We have John, the Keys to Victory Keys. We
Hello.
also have... Yeah. All right, there we go.
Right, you messed that up.
Man, I messed it up because I wasn't sure, you know? We've only done this 150 times.
I know, right?
Yeah. We've also got Kelechi Casey Onyebuchi.
Guten Tag.
All right.
Guten Tag.
And last but not least, we have George G Money Stallworth.
What's up?
Man, it's low key.
I was waiting on John Keys to jump in with facts.
Well,
you want some facts? I got facts for you.
I feel like we got
you want some
for that very reason.
Look, we got, what'd you say, Casey? We got listeners to tune in just for that.
We got to start introducing John last, because you just know some craziness is about to happen.
Hold on, I feel hurt
right now.
No, it's not about UFOs this time. Okay, this time. Next week, maybe so. We'll probably do that this time because we had a Antonio Shevchenko was fighting this weekend. I went and got some women facts. Okay, let's talk about the Ona Bugeisha, and I probably butchered that, so whatever. So
what?
Ona Bugeisha. They were female samurais, believe it or not. All right. They fought along because we rarely hear about them, but back in the 16th century Japan, they were actually female samurai. They were trained in the naginata, the kaiken, which is a type of knife, and the tanto, which is another type of knife.
There you have it.
Not gonna work here anymore.
Then I can honestly say I learned something by tuning in for tonight's show.
Yes.
I can't pronounce the name, but
yes, the Ona ONNA Bugeisha Bugeisha literally translates to female martial arts.
There you have it.
There you go. Yeah. Yes. And
so,
the first
would they have any relation to? So in what was it? I don't know if it was Japanese or Chinese culture, but the geisha word itself also was like used for women, wasn't it? Or
yes,
type of
yes.
So, but these women were like spies as well, right?
No, they weren't spies. They were literally samurai. Okay, they literally fought on the
I'm talking about
the geisha
geishas by themselves. Yeah.
The geisha by some were muses for what we know of them, from what we know of them in modern times, just before I learned about the Ona Bugeisha, that the geisha were like were entertainers. They were like actresses. Okay. They were muses. Yes, Casey in the back. Yes.
The views expressed on this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views of Kelechi Onyebuchi or his subsidiary podcast. Thank you.
Hold on, I was about to get you. Oh, okay.
Do you have any information on geishas?
Dipping the toe in the water, and I just wanted to make sure I didn't fall in.
Okay, so let's go ahead.
Do you have any information to add on geishas? I'm just saying that once I saw the word spelled out and I realized that geisha was in the word, it made sense. But please do share.
Oh, well,
if he takes a drink.
Yeah. Okay, so I got you. So let's talk about Julie Daubigny, all right, a French opera actress. Now, if you go look on, let's say, if you look historically, it'll tell you that she was an opera singer, and that she debuted as Pallas Athena and Cadmus, and she died at a convent at age 33. That's the clean version of this woman. This woman here, all right, let me tell you how trifling she was. Okay, not only was this woman.
Now, Kelechi, now is when you make your disclaimer.
Right,
That's
I felt it coming. I felt it coming. The toes are in the water. Y'all are about to sweat. I'm not too sure.
Okay, so let me tell you about this one. Not only was she bisexual, but she was known for stealing other dudes' women, which prompted her to be in fencing duels. Okay, now one other than a little known fact about this woman, she was a trained fencer, and she was knocking guys off. She was killing. She'd been in 10 successful duels. She wanted a girl so badly. She wants the girl so badly that she converted to a nun and just to get to a monastery to get at this girl. Okay, that's how trifling she was. So yeah, that's her. Yeah,
real talk. Like I love history, and this might have been one of the best moments we've had so far. Like I for real named stuff. Like I thought you were looking this up in real time.
Yeah, but here's where I'm going to come in. I want to go ahead and show that women in combat sports is not a new thing. Like when we go back and look back at
Ryan.
at people like Gina Carano, that seems so far back, but it goes so much farther back when we start thinking about the shoguns and samurais, and know that women were fighting alongside men as samurais, that we know that even in the Renaissance area, timelines, we have women doing duels, fighting men and winning. So women have always been very potent, warriors standing alongside men. It's just the fact that because of misogyny, because of a patriarchy, we have relegated them to the sidelines. And so, I think that it is great that John is calling to mind some of these women of renown who have been fighting, and holding a place in history. It doesn't have to be just Joan of Arc. We always want to go to Joan of Arc, but there are many, many women out there who have shown their prowess with the steel.
Yeah, they were ride or die. They were literally about that life.
This has been your women's suffrage moment, brought to you by Combat Sports Talk.
Oh, we can have a whole conversation on suffrage in the United States and what that meant.
No, see,
No,
on another show, not this show.
I know this topic, but who's really good with the skill?
While you're playing, women have been some pioneers. They're not just involved in martial arts; they've pioneered it, man. But I'll give you just in my own background. Several of my first coaches, both in Muay Thai and Shotokan Karate, were women.
Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, they did say that karate is actually one of the most popular martial arts voted by women. So I don't see that being far-fetched at all. And actually, Muay Thai was actually one as well. And I've seen quite a few female Muay Thai matches. Those are vicious. All right, let it be said. Women are more vicious when it comes to it. When they want to throw those elbows and knees and forearms, they're gonna throw elbows, knees, and forearms. And
head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
In my experience as a coach, women tend to be more technical or better technical fighters than men. Yeah, you can raise your head all you want to, Kelechi. I'm just telling you.
I was about to mention, that's like the WNBA. Technically, they're more technical than the men, and they put up more three-pointers. Are we watching that?
Okay, the views expressed by Kelechi Onyebuchi are not necessarily those of Ryan Smith or the Combat Sports Talk team.
Please go right ahead there.
Listen. I don't want to. We got a lot to talk about, and so I don't want to spend too much time about this. I just want to quote my godfather, who said, this is a man's world, but it wouldn't be nothing without a woman or a girl. So, that's what my godfather says. I believe him.
That's what the quote said.
That's what it said. That's what it said.
I thought he was in the James Brown one, Without a Woman's Touch.
Now, I think that may be a different song. Okay. But But anyway.
Yeah. Headline.
We're gonna go. Listen, the reason why I believe John and I were talking before the show. The reason why he wanted to do his facts on female fighters is because arguably one of the greatest female fighters currently in the UFC today, Valentina Shevchenko, fought on the card on Saturday night, and she did not even slow down in her defense of her title shot. We'll get over into it. We've got our next segment coming up. That is the official decision. This is the official decision. This is where we talk about the fights on Saturday night. You know, and I don't want to disrespect Deiveson Figueiredo and Alex Perez. They were the headliners, but Valentina Shevchenko was fighting this weekend, and that is always a treat. And so we had 5 fights on the card. We're going to cover actually 7 fights though, just because there are some storylines that are coming out of this weekend that I want us to be aware of and talk about. The first one being Joaquin Buckley. So we remember Joaquin Buckley because only a few weeks ago, he had what is arguably the knockout of the year. And he came back in short order to fight Jordan Wright. He finished Jordan Wright by TKO 18 seconds into round number 2. This was one of those finishes where it was a lot like Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker, where he really got the knockout at the end of the first round, but Jordan Wright made the bell, came back, and then caught them hands 18 seconds in, and that was it. Here's the deal. We've got quite the rivalry brewing right now between Joaquin Buckley and James Krause. Now, they've been arguing back and forth since for some time now, and it's come to the point now where Joaquin Buckley is calling James Krause out. He says, I want James Krause at UFC 257. I really want to hurt this man. I think the UFC needs to put this fight on the card.
Oh, I'm all about any real rivalries. So, yeah, make it happen.
Yeah, if they got beef like that, we need to get that cooked.
There it is. There it is.
I don't know if I agree with that necessarily. I mean, Joaquin, bar his last fight where he had the spinning knockout. Just before that, the last time I saw him in action, he was knocked out. So, I don't know if I'm on his hype train just yet either. But just because he's got a rivalry, no, it's not making me jump on his hype train.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. It's those post-fight bloodlusts. I used to talk about it all the time, where you get a fighter, and even if they did, they did get knocked out in their previous fight, they come back, highlight knockout, and then come back again and string another knockout together. People forget about what happened 3 fights ago, because in those last 2,
I didn't forget.
I didn't say George Stallworth forget. I said people. Now you are included in people.
I'm not people. Oh,
you are included in people.
What are you talking about, Ryan?
Yeah, Ryan. Is he not everyday people? I am everyday people. All right.
We just did a great segment on women's suffrage and women in martial arts, and then you turn around and you begin to discriminate against a light-skinned brother because I'm not guilty.
Yeah.
You are exceptional. Whatever. And so therefore, when I generalize to people, I'm not including those who are exceptional, because you are an exception to others.
So he's our people. He's not they's people. Is that
those
what you're
people?
Say?
Those people forget what happened 3 fights ago.
Some Proud Boys looking for us in a minute.
Oh, brother, I hope not.
Anyway, let's get back on topic. You're right. We're getting derailed.
Yeah. So we, speaking of someone who 2 fights ago we were all celebrating, and that is Brandon Royval. We were all super excited about, our Factory X brother. Take a drink. Who was looking great. He faced off against Brandon Moreno, and Brandon Moreno is tough competition. and Brandon Moreno defeated Brandon Royval via TKO at 4:59 of round number 1. So 1 second to go at the end of the round. But here's the deal.
Yeah.
Brandon Royval got his shoulder like separated.
Yeah.
Dude was fighting with a separated shoulder. That's impressive. You're going to say something, Kelechi? No, you're not going to say anything because you're on mute.
Bro.
Yeah, on mute.
For a second there, I thought we were having.
There, you're better. There you go. Come on now.
No, it was just kudos to the man for just the toughness of fighting through that. And did y'all see the video of it getting popped back in? Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
I played in college, and I know that pain. So like that hug afterwards, where like you want to fight the person who put your shoulder back, but you know they did it out of love, and so just like that. Oh, I felt that in my spirit.
What you got, Coach?
I've had a shoulder pop out in a fight. Into
Did
the
you
first
really?
round. Yeah.
But
I mean, by that time, I had been so used to it popping out, I just popped it back in, made sure the referee didn't know, and went back out. Finished the fight.
Wow.
It's not a wow. No, what I'm telling you is that I had done it so many times that really popping it out just felt like spraining my ankle at that point.
Yeah, and that's scary. I mean, do we have a number on how many times it just pops out like that? Can you do it right now?
No, I can't do it now. I've worked on it and rehabbed it. Good try, though. I appreciate what you try to get there. Let me slam it up against the wall.
This reminded me of.
I've actually dislocated both shoulders previously, but one of my what was it? Probably about 2 years ago, I was in a fight and popped the shoulder out at the end of the first round. After I popped it out, it popped back in almost instantly or whatever, but it definitely was out. But the bell rung and I was walking back to my corner, and one of my corner men came over and he put both his hands on my shoulders. I was like, dude, get your hand off my shoulder. He's like, what? I was like, my shoulder popped out. And then he reached and starts checking on it. I'm like, don't touch it. I don't want the referee to see it. He'll stop the fight. made sure it was back in, went back out, finished the fight, got the W.
I was alerted to the need for medical attention when you said, ow.
Oh, y'all silly.
Well done. Our audio engineer working overtime over here.
We have it. We have
it. He has been on point all night while you're playing. Him and John Keys as well. I mean, did you see the graphics pop up when we started talking about female samurai and geishas, and then the female fencer? Oh, that was Ryan.
That was Ryan.
My bad.
That was Ryan.
That was Ryan.
Hey.
Yeah. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Y'all gonna stop sleeping on Ryan.
Yes. Listen, we are.
Ryan's like the new Jamie now. We're gonna start calling you Jamie from Joe Rogan.
No, I don't know that that's a compliment. I don't know.
Yeah. Jamie pulls information up rather quickly while you're playing.
But I did want us to cover these because we have been really celebrating Joaquin Buckley and Brandon Royval, in our previous shows. And so they were on this card. Definitely want to continue to watch them and follow them and wish them luck and getting back to health as soon as possible. Now let's get back to the main card. Paul Craig defeated Mauricio Shogun Hua via submission to punches at 3:36 in round number 2. Now, here's the thing about this fight. There was only one person who chose Paul Craig, and that guy is me. Everybody else was on that Hua train. Speaking about shoguns, speaking about samurai.
So that button's working tonight, is what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm gonna be hitting this button. I'm gonna be hitting this button tonight. This guy was perfect in all his picks on Saturday night. Blind dog finds a bone every once in a while.
It's hard because it's you.
Yeah. Like broken clock Right, twice a day.
Every now and then. Huh?
That's right. Like, I am not gonna be even pretending like I am the Nostradamus or anything. I got lucky as hell. But I'm gonna celebrate. Here's the deal, though. Shogun Hua busted up his elbow or something like that, and so they were showing pictures of his elbow all swollen up after the fight. And that's the thing, is that it's time for him to start thinking about his career. When we look at people who have been in those big pride wars, almost all of them now are retired or out of the sport. There's only a few of them left.
That's true.
No, I don't think there's. I think Shogun's the last of them because the Nogueira brothers are out. Vanderlei's out. Let me see here. Krokop is retired. Hunt is out. And
Rampage
Ninja's
is out.
Rampage is out.
Alistair Overeem, was he in it?
Yes, he was. He's the last. He is the last. He's going to be the last guy if Shogun retires, which Shogun should retire. I have to agree with Dana. He was a shadow of his former self, and there's no shame in that because Shogun has had wars in that ring, like literal wars. He was a top-notch scrapper. He wasn't one to back down. This was not him, and he can retire in the sunset knowing he did it. He was a light heavyweight champion. He didn't need to prove anything beyond this. Okay.
Didn't he beat Anthony Smith recently?
No, that was Glover Teixeira.
That was Teixeira that did that.
Good try though, KC. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
show whether it's a fight night, a pay-per-view, or something where Dana White is not trying to retire somebody.
Like in the last year, no.
But I mean, Shogun Hua, the last fight that he had with Little Nog, I mean, that was a rock'em sock'em kind of thing, but it was still not an apex kind of fight. Like,
but that's what I'm saying is, Dana, you can't put these guys on the show and then come out after they lose or whatever, like, oh, this guy needs to retire. Well, why did you put him on the show in the first place?
To give them that last shot. Give them that last fight.
Because I was going to say that. What's up?
All right, I'm going to direct traffic here. Let's go. Let's George.
I'm with Coach right now. Like I'm fully on board with everything Coach is saying. That's all I got.
All right, George.
Okay.
Dana, you're acting like Bob Arum. You're acting like all these promoters you hate on when you turn around and you defecate on fighters after they have a bad night out, a bad showing because they're elderly. You put them on the show. You knew how old they were. You knew what kind of function they had going on or didn't have going on or whatever the case may be. So it breaks my heart to hear a promoter go out and defecate on a fighter after he's had a loss on top of that. And this man has been a UFC veteran now for, 10, 15 years or whatever. He's put work in there. And now all of a sudden, he should never be fighting. He should be retired. I'm not putting him back on the show anymore. We're releasing Anderson Silva, all these things. But, you got paid off of those last few fights that these guys eked out. And you can't convince me that the pay-per-view numbers weren't higher as a result of putting some of these older fighters on there because of their name power.
John Keys.
You get what I'm saying? You can't have the best of both worlds, Dana.
All right.
I agree with you, George. I agree with you. I hate what Dana does. He does that. It's almost like he's using them. He says that he wants to see them. He expects a good fight out of them. They don't have a good fight. They suck. Okay, they need to quit.
Yeah.
He does that. That's his pattern. He's been doing that since Chuck Liddell, his boy. Mm-hmm. And if he's willing to do that to his boy, what is he going to do to somebody that's just okay? He's okay with. Okay, I get it. We all have a love of pride. Okay, we all have a love of pride fighters. But there comes a point where Dana has to sit there and say, no, you cannot come fight here again before he puts them out there. or he makes them say, yes, this is going to be my last fight. Okay,
Okay.
and just if they fight and once they fight, win or lose, he goes out there on his podium. He says, "Look, this was a stud fighter. He fought. He gave it. He is one of those fighters that left it all in the ring, and he left it all in the ring tonight. He's done. Move on."
Okay. I want to use Anderson Silva. We're going to go back to Anderson Silva and talk about it a little bit more in depth later on in the show. But he did that with Anderson Silva. He made a deal with Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva got knocked out, and then Anderson Silva comes back and says, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I fight again. I talk to my family. I see. It's like, no, we had an agreement. So we don't, this is the thing, is we don't know the conversations that are taking place behind the scenes. We don't know that Shogun Rua wasn't, even after Dana White says, okay, after the Little Nog fight, you're done. We're not going to have any more fights. And then Shogun Rua comes back and goes, one more, coach, put me in. We don't know that. Where it's like, we don't know that Dana White hasn't said, listen, if you don't come out here and look like the stud that you say that you are, then I'm not going to put you out there anymore. Because I do believe that Dana White has a love for these fighters as well. And maybe I'm the only one standing here on the Dana White side of the line and saying, listen,
on the wrong side of history.
I may be on the wrong side of history here. You know, I put myself at risk whenever I side with Dana White, but it is to go back and say.
My issue, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm finna Kanye you. It isn't the fact that Dana, has to do whatever he has to do. It's the fact that when it comes down to it, he turns around and hates on these fighters. It's down say, you know what? I made a mistake. Shogun Rua probably shouldn't have had that fight. We're not gonna let him run it back anymore. That's his last one. But no, he comes out, oh, Shogun's horrible. There's no way I'm ever letting this guy fight in the UFC again. We got to kick him out, send him the pink slip.
Okay.
It's the vitriol that comes as a result of this is quite different.
Let me just go and say, if Dana White had said that specifically, it would have been quoted in the media. I'm looking at the media right now. That is not what Dana White said. Dana White did not defecate on Shogun Rua. What Dana White said is, I hope.
That word.
Yeah. Oh, I like that word. I much prefer that word.
Did you listen to the press conference afterwards?
I did not listen to the press conference afterwards, so that's on me. I will go back and listen to the whole thing. I'm looking at the key quotes that have been pulled from what he said. I hope that tonight was his last night. I would like to see him retire. Just being honest, Shogun didn't look like Shogun to me tonight. He looked old and looked like a shell of his former self tonight. I think he had 2 fights left on his deal, but I'd like to see him retire. So Dana White is contractually obligated to give him 2 more fights. And he has to do 3 fights per year unless he cuts him. Unless
Dana
he cuts him or they retire.
To do that. The UFC is required to do that.
Okay.
Dana White, I'm making a distinction for a reason.
Okay.
Dana White, as a manager of the fighters, as a promotional head, has no business deciding whose last fight it is versus whose last fight it isn't. Like, his goal is to go out there and promote for the business. And what he's doing as a manager right now is he's talking poorly about his fighters. That doesn't help the fighters. It doesn't help the organization. So I think it's just a matter of being a decent manager. He's got to change the timing of when he's making these comments and how often it comes up. It really blemishes the character, not of the fighters, but of Dana White. See, the conversation keeps going back to Dana White rather than the fighters. And that's a problem for the promotion. So that's why I say there's a distinction. It's not up to Dana to give Shogun 2 more fights. That's the organization. Dana should be out there talking about how much of a legend he was the whole time and hyping up that man. Like, that is the job of a promoter. That is what he should be doing. And yet, time after time, after these press conferences, we're talking about Dana White lying about a fighter, Dana White talking poorly about a fighter. Like, this is the Dana White show, and it's hurting the brand.
Well, I don't know if it's hurting the brand per se. But I would dispute the characterization that Dana White is the manager, this manager role that you've kind of put Dana White in. Yes, absolutely, he would be better served, and I agree with you that he would be better served in lifting up fighters, promoting fighters, and talking about how even though they are 38 or 42 or even in some cases 47, 48 years old, that they are still, fighting in the top of the, MMA world in the UFC. Like there is an opportunity for him to say that. However, we have to also leave space for us not to know the conversations that are going back and forth whenever negotiations are taking place, whenever conversations are taking place about a fighter's health or a fighter's readiness to fight. We don't know complete information, but we're talking and making assumptions as though we do know. And that's the only thing that I'm saying is that while Dana White deserves criticism because his short fuse with a lot of his fighters, especially those who have had a history of supporting and giving some great fights for the UFC, we also have to think about the fact that it may not be all Dana White. It may be sometimes the fighter, in the case of Anderson Silva, who doesn't want to leave when it's time to go.
Yeah.
All right. I can give you this.
Okay. All right. Let us continue. Caitlin Chukagian defeated Cynthia Calvillo via unanimous decision. We were all, I guess the only person who was on Cynthia Calvillo was the Nostradamus.
Oh.
It's a little stopped up. You couldn't smell COVID at the
Fair.
Rona.
Actually, I have to get a test tomorrow about that, so I wish we hadn't said that.
No,
I'm crazy nervous about it.
it's a joke. It's a joke. I joke. I kid. I joke. It's a kid. I joke.
I was just talking to my mom about it. I had a 9:30 COVID test. I'm nervous.
All right. Well, it's in time for Thanksgiving. We have something to be thankful for. In Mike Perry versus Tim Means. Tim Means defeated Mike Perry via unanimous decision.
Work.
I'm gonna play this
Word,
again
this
a second time. I'm gonna play this a second time because we got a friend in the audience, Lepidolite. I'm playing this one for you. Hope you're watching.
He's going for the
He's
going for the crowd now. Great.
Because remember, I picked Tim Means, and y'all are like, well, Ryan, why are you picking Tim Means? I'm like, I'm looking at the stats. Looks like Tim Means going to outstrike Mike Perry. What? Did he do it? Won't he do it?
Every way, and it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
I'm so excited. This is what it feels like to get things right in the MMA world. It's so great. I got a basket. Look, I got to brighten this light. The light is getting brighter. Look at me. Look at me.
Look, what about?
Man, it was just a good. I mean, it was a good fight. It was
great
really
fight.
a good fight.
Really good.
You know, it was hilarious. That corner was wild because he came out there and it was already thrown off that he missed weight. Then he came out to his walkout music. Walkout music was thrown off. He came in there singing it, and I was like, dude. And we already knew that Platinum Mike Perry is slowly becoming the ODB of MMA. So, when he came in there singing it, I was like, okay, that match is right. It's about right. 'Cause, coming out to that song and you're trying to calm, you're already crazy, calming down. He may have calmed down a little too much.
No. So can I also, I want to pound on this crow button because John Keys, by every virtue of your belief of coming out to a ballad, Mike Perry should have just murdered Tim Means, the ref, his entire corner, anybody watching through the screen, because he came out to his children's children.
Okay, hold on.
He came out to Beyonce Halo.
Yes, he did. Okay, so let's talk about this for a second. Since you want to talk about the children's children, y'all saying that y'all willing to let Platinum Mike Perry, without his girlfriend, babysit your kids?
No.
Exactly. He's crazy. We know this. Okay. See
No.
that look on Casey's face says it all.
But what I'm saying is, you talk about fighters who walk out to Celine Dion, fighters who walk out to all these ballads. That should be a signal of devastation coming their way. This actually, we got to test this out, and it did not happen.
Dariush, it's different though. Like he actually proved
Dariush, though, for real.
Okay, hold on, stop. Because y'all acting like that Dirty Bird just went in there and acted a fool all on him. That did not exactly happen.
It was a close fight. It was a close fight.
It was a really close fight. Because Platinum, at one point, it started to turn into Rock'em Sock'em. Okay,
yeah,
and they weren't playing. So I don't care what y'all say. My theory still, he came in there ready to fight. I was not happy the fact that his girlfriend is pregnant and still in the corner. Man, come on. I mean, I know you don't like Darren Till. Let him come on back. Let him be your friend in the corner. He'll just sit there and talk crazy to you, and that'll get you hyped up, and you go out there and kill that guy. That's what you got to do.
Darren Till's from Liverpool, so it's not like he'd be able to understand what Darren Till was saying anyway. I mean, it'd just be like,
exactly.
Did y'all see Darren Till like training with him leading up to the fight though?
He didn't train with him. I don't remember seeing Darren Till train with Mike Perry.
Running together and
they have trained them together before. That's where some of the beef started originally. They were sparring partners to help one of them get ready for a fight coming up. And that's where some of the beef has sparked from or whatever.
I love it. I love their love-hate relationship. It's perfect. Eventually they're gonna have to meet up somewhere and just get it off their chest. I really wouldn't want that. I'd want that to happen. I honestly just for hilarity's sake, okay? Because it's gonna be funny. All right, no matter what. The weigh-in's gonna be funny. The trolling the way they're down. It's just for hilarity's sake. I don't care if they fight or not. Just put them in the same building. Okay, let it happen naturally.
So
I don't think it's as big of a beef as it's been blown up to be. Just because if you watch them interact leading up to the fight week, like sure there's some animosity, but at the end of the day, they're fighters and they're willing to help each other get to the next level. So some of these, like, I don't think that this is truly a bad blood thing. I think that Darren's probably above it and realizes that you've got a crazy, a dude who's struggling with mental issues, like just being open in public with it. So I don't think that there's any upside to Darren, like, feeding into this beyond what he's done. He went from trolling him to actually being a friend to him in 1 week.
Yeah. But see, there's such thing as rivalry. And rivalry is healthy, okay? Because rivalry versus
weight class.
animosity. Hey, he should have been there for him. There's nothing wrong with a good professional rivalry. There's nothing wrong with that. That's supposed to, iron sharpens iron, okay? And that's what should have happened there. I do hope that Darren Till takes him under his wing. And, and on top of that, the whole weight loss thing, it happened the week after Paul Felder, went all Super Saiyan on the mic talking about you need to hire yourself a nutritionist and, quit missing weight. And, Paul Felder was right. You're a professional fighter. This is a part of your job. What you guys are doing.
Mike Perry was on video eating like pizza and ice cream. Like he was flaunting the fact that he was eating whatever he wanted. That's why people were so mad at Mike Perry, was not because he was trying to cut weight and trying to do the right things. It's because he was up in the camera drinking blueberry Slurpee and knowing he had a fight coming up.
Why? It's not like I
KC, this is where you say, oh, dude, I was injured. I had already planned to pull out of that fight. My ankle was, sprained. Or you dislocated your shoulder. You separated your shoulder. That's what happened.
Oh, yeah. Actually, that probably did happen. But I don't pull out of fights.
All right. Hey, so Dana White, we like, this is where I'm expecting you guys to get on Dana White. After Mike Perry failed to make weight, he makes a mockery of the weigh-ins. He comes in and has Rock'em Sock'em in the ring, loses the fight. Dana White says, not in a hurry to cut Mike Perry. He's a fun fighter to watch. This dude is one step away from being out of control. And Dana White is just like, yeah, we'll throw him in the ring again. He's on that list with Diego Sanchez and a couple of those other fighters.
Okay, so my beef is I do have beef with Dana White. This is not going to be it. He does need a mentor. He does need a coach. He needs a team. Okay, regardless of what he says, you don't have to have a corner, but get you the stuff in the background. Get you a nutritionist, dude. Okay, Dana White. You know what?
They have a team of nutritionists. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say there is a whole institute. So you're asking somebody who's struggling with mental illness to make the best possible choices for themselves. This reminds me very much of a Des Bryant situation for you Cowboys fans out there, where you've gotten out of control athlete. Well, it's just that notion that at a certain point, if you're going to have him affecting your brand, then you need to be the one who puts in these safety rails for him, because he's not capable of handling it himself. Is he a gifted athlete? 100%. Should he ever be on his own? No, ever.
Wait, are you talking about Mike Perry or are you talking about John Jones? I'm confused.
Oh. I'm talking about, like, that's why it's so on brand. Like,
okay.
When you say that you believe that Dana White cares about his athletes, I just point you back to these situations where instead of actually taking care of them, he gives them enough rope to hang themselves. Like, I'm going to keep putting you in the limelight. I'm going to keep giving you these resources that you don't know how to manage and control. And on top of that, there's going to be no consequences for your poor behavior.
Exactly.
Good luck.
There you go.
That doesn't sound like love to me.
That sounds like enabling.
Yeah. Well, talking about love, we got to get to Valentina Shevchenko, who defeated Jennifer Maia, the most dangerous woman at 170 pounds.
You dare.
Hold on, man, because I say it like this. Okay, I will say this. Jennifer Maia she showed us something. She showed us that Shevchenko might have a chink in the armor.
All right, let's talk about it.
Her ground game was a little suspect. I mean, it was like, but we're looking at Jennifer Maia, and let me bring up her belts and her accomplishments here. But it was like interesting because Shevchenko, I mean, when they were on the feet, it was no problem. But when she grabbed her, it was like, oh, here we are. We're on the ground, and it seems like that Shevchenko may have a problem with some ground game. So, what do you guys think?
Well, I mean, I think that it stands to reason that if there was going to be a weakness, it would be Shevchenko's ground game, because let's face it, she's a Muay Thai striker. She's an elite kickboxer, and so you're not going to see her grapple. You're not going to see a lot of jiu-jitsu out of her. She's going to focus on takedown defense so that she can do what she does well. So yeah, I mean, the same thing I think holds true for Israel Adesanya. We have never seen him get down and dirty, grapple on the ground. It's probably for a reason. And if we could find someone who can get in close to make that happen, I would be interested to see whether or not he could hold his own against a true Brazilian jiu-jitsu specialist. KC.
I have to wonder about like the degree to which that is true, right? So another dominant fighter who had a hole in the game would be Ronda Rousey, right? I think Ronda Rousey's stand-up is way worse than Valentina's ground game. Like, there's a difference. Like, Ronda. That's an
odd relationship you're drawing there. Like,
well, but I'm saying, like, so.
But it's also a very deep and wide divide.
We knew that there was a hole in Ronda Rousey's game, and it was exposed. Like, Ronda looked like me trying to fight a pro.
Ryan. Ryan. You of pros. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. I thought I knew where the statement was going. I thought I knew where it was going. I'm sorry. Continue.
But Valentina on the ground, like, is it the most impressive thing ever? No, but it's highly unlikely that she hasn't been submitted yet. Like, I just don't think that it's that same level of hole in the armor. Like, I think to even get her to the ground is a skill that most people won't have. And so to say that she's got a hole in her armor, is it really if you never get exposed in that way?
I think that
takes.
let me just jump in real quick. I think that the difference between Valentina Shevchenko on the ground and Ronda Rousey in striking is that Ronda Rousey wanted to strike with people because she believed that she was a striker. Valentina Shevchenko knows that she's not a grappler, and she is trying her damnedest to keep from getting on the ground. So I think that's the difference between them. But it's very difficult to find someone who is elite at every level of the game. Someone's going to be stronger in one area versus the other. And I think that what we're finding is that if there is a human that is called Valentina Shevchenko, it's probably going to be manifested somewhere in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, on the ground, grappling and submissions, and not standing on the feet where she is superhuman. She is what's the Ana Bugeisha?
Ana Bugeisha.
Ana Bugeisha. There you go. Ana Bugeisha.
All I'm saying is, even the Death Star had a weakness. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Three of us got that. Three. Yeah, we gotta add that one.
He slid that in there.
There's this little round port that didn't make sense on the side of a ship. Like, why would you make that your vulnerability?
Because like, if you watch Rogue One, you will know why.
Thank you, Ryan. If you watch Rogue One, it answers that question on why a closet was basically, it was the most weak spot of all spots of a planet destroying star station.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. Listen, we have just gotten to the main event of the fights. Like, we got a whole show to do. Deiveson Figueiredo defeated Alex Perez with a guillotine choke, round 1. This was a mauling. He basically just walked across the ring and said, "Give me your neck. Thank you very much. I'm walking out."
Okay, so this is where I had the beef with Dana White, because Dana White sat there and said that this guy is the most exciting person in flyweight history. I have big beef with that, okay? Because you let go of the most exciting guy in flyweight history, all right?
Facts.
That's what I have, and I'm not taking anything away from Deiveson, because the little dude is a killer. Okay, I'm not trying to see him on the street at any time and owe him money. I mean, I'm not going to do that. All right, he is a killer. He's a definite killer. But do you think he could have killed Do you think he could have handled DJ?
No.
Do you think he would get DJ a time of day?
No.
Do you think if DJ would have sent him location, if he'd show up?
He would, but then he would be left at that location, looking up at the sky.
Like why?
So yeah, I think I agree with you. Of course, I am on the biggest hype train there is for Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, but I'm trying to understand what Dana White is doing with Deiveson Figueiredo. It's like he's trying to build excitement at 125, because what they have announced is in 21 days, Deiveson Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno are going to fight for the title at UFC 256. 21-day turnaround. They're doing this. They are trying to do something with 125 pounds. All of you in the past have complained about 125 being ignored. Now Dana White and the UFC are trying to do something. They're doing turnaround fights. He's trying to pump up Deiveson Figueiredo. What more do you want this man to do? Kalechi. Full screen for you.
Oh, well, this was something else, but we'll talk about that later. I'm being frank.
Oh. Yeah.
Look,
He lost his
I'll take it for
concentration.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, George.
Roll that beautiful
Wait, no.
green roll footage.
Back.
All right. No, what's happening here, forgive me, but Dana White is trying to pull Henry Cejudo out of retirement. That's what's
Really?
going on. Yes, really.
Really?
Really.
I don't think Henry want that smoke.
I'm
right.
just letting you know that they're pumping Deiveson Figueiredo to tick off Henry Cejudo. Watch the cringe start amping up next week. I bet you there's going to be a video or something posted by Henry Cejudo hating on Deiveson Figueiredo.
Well, he's already posted something on Twitter, right? I mean, and so that's the thing.
I didn't know that.
He did post something on Twitter about being the greatest or something like that. Like Henry Cejudo did respond. So I think there is some juice to what you're saying, Coach, in that there may be some interplay to try to bring Henry Cejudo back. I mean, Dana White's trying to bring Khabib Nurmagomedov back.
It's not going to happen. He has a better chance of bringing Henry Cejudo. He knows the number. He knows the number to get Henry Cejudo. It's not a telephone number. It's that check. Give Cejudo that number that he wants, and he'll come back gladly.
I don't understand why we're so focused on bringing fighters out of retirement rather than. And then when they do come out of retirement, then we're like, oh, you should have retired 10 years ago. Like,
I can answer that.
Different though.
I can answer that.
There are several fighters who are retired that ain't really retired and should not be retired.
Okay, it's like this. It's like this.
Khabib, Conor, and definitely Henry Cejudo.
Mm-hmm. But not Daniel Cormier.
Daniel Cormier is out. Yeah. Oh, dang.
So here's the thing, though. What is?
Look, I'm gonna drink for you too.
Thank you.
What does he have to fight for? They're calling this new champ. Champ. The God of War.
Oh.
The God of War.
Yes. And that's Dana White. Dana White is calling Henry Cejudo.
They're already talking about putting him on the pound for pound greatest fighter list. This man has defended his belt once. Hell, he didn't get the belt because he didn't make weight, and they're already talking about putting him on the greatest fighter list.
Yeah. Remember, he didn't make weight on a title fight, and he still beat the guy that all he had to do was just hold the round. That's all he had to do.
That was also part of the big storyline behind this one. There was some fear that he wouldn't make weight, and this wasn't going to be a title fight for him, at least.
Yeah, so but his nickname is God of War, though. Let me just be clear. That's his fight name.
Now, Ryan, to understand. Well, go ahead, Casey.
Have you ever played God of War?
Yes,
solid game.
Yes, yeah, it's very solid. Okay, it's legit.
When Cassius Clay changed his name to Muhammad Ali, a lot of people, including some of his promoters, did not want to call him Muhammad Ali. Just because your nickname is God of War, don't mean the promoter got to call you that.
Right. Dang.
Okay. All right.
So to understand why he's coming back, though, why the reason why Dana wants to bring Henry Cejudo back is because he wants to fire him on his terms. Okay, that is much like that. Let him go. Hey, we've seen it all the time. Are they really boys when you just sit there and just drop your boy right at an awkward moment, like, oh man, I'm out, and just leave him there like that? No, he's gonna bring him back. But he left on his own terms, not Dana's terms, and that's the problem. Okay, Dana wants him back. Yeah, Dana wants him back just so Figueiredo on there and do a little Machida to him, and then he's gonna send him back on his way. That's all I got to say.
I don't think that at all.
A ploy to get back with with Mighty Mouse. Like, this is all what it's been leading up to.
Now that's on some Cancer Man level stuff, man. Okay.
We got the triangle going here. Deiveson Figueiredo, Mighty Mouse Henry. We can have.
I didn't say Mighty
tournament.
Mouse. Okay, I did not say Mighty Mouse. I said Dana wants Henry Cejudo to come back so Deiveson can get up on him, and if Deiveson beats him, then Dana can talk mess about him and scoot him back out like he wanted to.
There's one part of this that is verified, so that fight is going to happen. But what they didn't talk about was that the fight to make with that as the headliner is going to be Cormier versus Jones.
Which fight is going to happen?
Oh my gosh!
I just wanted a reason to throw that in there.
Yeah, you know, because I think this whole storyline around Dana White trying to lure Henry Cejudo back so he can fire him is a bit out there. I do think that there's probably some juice in trying to get Henry Cejudo back by putting someone who is a talented fighter and in the spotlight, in the forefront. I think that's probably I think that's probably some realistic.
I think I've seen this scenario before.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, John.
I've just seen the scenario before when girlfriend leaves boyfriend, and then boyfriend gets super hot woman back, and they're all lovey-dovey to try and lure girlfriend back, just so he can bring her back in and then dump her the next day. I've seen that. Okay, this is what that is.
Yeah,
as a healthy human being who's still somewhat single, I would say that is very unhealthy behavior. And if you're engaging in that, you should seek professional help. Because
have you met Dana White?
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the name Dana White? Dana White got confronted in a casino while he was sitting next to his mistress.
Oh no! Okay. Allegedly.
Hey, we'll talk later.
Allegedly.
Get that camera out of my face.
I'm just saying she did fade into the backlight real quick, like she faded, and we never saw her again for the rest of that video.
We are never gonna get like the UFC is gonna shun us.
Ryan jumped in and said allegedly. Did y'all hear that?
Yeah.
Kalechi and I both said allegedly.
I'm like,
KC too.
I'm trying to make that UFC money one day.
Yeah, like what y'all doing?
I'm trying to make that Ariel Hawani money one day.
Exactly. I'm trying to be on the Ariel Hawani show too. I got your back, George. Hey.
All right. Well, you can clearly see that the line is split. Right there. There it is. Dana White, Kalechi, and I, we're there.
It's over here, yeah. It's over here.
Daniel Cormier.
Thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and close the book on this one and put it on the shelf. This card is more than history. This card is now ancient history because we have beaten this card to death. So let's get into the headliner. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to get into finding the angles and talk about the headlines that are making waves in the UFC world. This is Finding the Angles. This is Finding the Angles. This is where we talk about the headlines that are making waves coming out of this past weekend. And the headliner, the thing that we absolutely need to talk about is the thing that's coming up this weekend. And that's not the UFC event, but it's actually Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. It is finally happened. This is the headliner. All right. Well, it is this Saturday in California. Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr., November 28th, 2020 at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, California. It is quite the interesting card, though, and that's the reason why we're going to talk about it now. We'll come back and make our picks at the end of the show, but it's got some quirky things as part of this card. So I wanted to talk about this big excitement that we have. Mike Tyson coming out of retirement, Roy Jones Jr. coming out of retirement, Mike Tyson getting all beef and just ready to fight. Conversations about him knocking out Roy Jones Jr., how many rounds it's going to go. And then we start finding out like that the California State Athletic Commission, they're not going to announce a winner. They're not scoring it. They're not. You're not going to declare a winner, but the WBC is going to actually create a belt, kind of like a BMF belt for it. Like, this seems like it's going to be a hot mess for $49.99.
And for $49.99, you're gonna see a ringside felony. Okay, it's gonna be attempted murder. Somebody making it. I don't care. They can make all the rules they want. California, I know y'all stupid. Okay, the CSAC is stupid right now to put two legitimate killers in the ring, expecting them to play nice. Don't do that. Don't do that, man. Just call it the fight.
So I got to send a shout out to CBS Sports. They did there's an article there that I thought was really interesting, where it's talking about some of these other storylines that are taking place in for this fight. So the first one, it asked 5 questions. This was CBS Sports, written by Brian Campbell. The first one was, are they actually fighting? Because remember, there was talking about this is an exhibition. This is really a sparring session. They're not fighting with the typical 8 or 10 ounce gloves. They're fighting with 12 ounce gloves. There was questioning whether or not they're going to have a headset or not. And so the expectation is that they're actually going to fight, though. They are actually going to go at it, but they're not doing the customary 3-minute rounds. They're doing 2-minute rounds.
Oh, this sounds like my kind of fight.
Yeah, Kalechi's fight is 1 2-minute round.
They're gonna get as many punches in as they can in those 2 minutes. I rest assured. I'm pretty confident that this is going to be a fight. This is not going to be pretty. This is not going to be pretty for either man. I like I said, ringside felony comes to mind. I got nothing else for this.
Look, I think if people come in here sober-minded, understanding what this is, it really is old men coming in here showing that they still got it. You shouldn't be out. I mean, I don't know that it is the wisest thing to be hoping for like a blood sport, take your head off situation versus just 2 people engaging in the thing that has been their life work and they're passionate about it. Like, does it really matter outside of the Vegas sports books? Like, if they score the rounds, like you're getting to see one last shot of 2 legends going after it. So I think if you come in with the right mindset about it, it's going to be beautiful no matter what. Like, Mike Tyson's movement is some of the best, even at this age. Like, his ability to work the ring is second to none. Like, there are fighters who are still coming to him for advice. Roy Jones has a legend all his own. Does it matter who wins?
No.
I mean, is it a fight? Then yes, it matters who wins.
I mean, let's break down what exactly is a fight.
Let me break this down. What's really happening here?
Come on, Coach.
Yeah. Tell me, Coach.
The California State Athletic Commission has almost basically guaranteed we're going to get a knockout, because they said we're not going to declare a winner. We're not even going to score this fight. And if you guys knock each other out, we have no power whatsoever to sanction you or whatever. So if I'm Mike, look, I want that W. And if I'm Roy, I want that W over Mike. So guess what? I'm going to try to finish this in 6 rounds, and these rounds are 2 minutes. Yeah, we finna see some excitement. It's going to be old man excitement. Don't get me wrong, but somebody's going to sleep.
And
it won't be.
And let the church say amen.
Amen. Okay. So,
wow.
So the second one thing is that there's more at stake for Mike Tyson than money. And that I think that's true as well. Is that when you start thinking about it, all eyes are on Mike Tyson. He needed a foil, and so Roy Jones Jr. has stepped into the ring. But nobody's talking about Roy Jones Jr. They're all talking about Mike Tyson. This is the Mike Tyson show, and if he doesn't come out looking like the person that we're all expecting to see, there's going to be a lot of disappointment. I mean, I think that the stakes are really high for Mike because of those promo videos, because of those hype videos, because of the pictures of how he's transformed his body. the expectation is that he is going to walk in there as the old Mike Tyson, the Iron Mike Tyson, who lit up a bunch of people in his heyday. And the fact is that, you know, to the third point in this article, is that he is not the fresher fighter. He has been on the shelf much longer, and he's the older fighter. So to Casey's point, we should be starting to kind of temper those expectations with, we may not see just the best Mike Tyson we've ever seen.
Okay, consider this then. The Mike Tyson that we've gotten to know over the years since his boxing has become a more tempered, a wiser person. This may translate in the ring. We might go in there and see, not only do we see the Tyson, we may not see the Tyson of old where we knew that he was not the same person once that bell started, because if you ever watched him at the end of the fight, he would blink a lot, like he's snapping back to reality. We may see a more tempered, a more wiser, a more dangerous fighter than we may have seen before in Mike Tyson. That's the scary part for me.
I see.
Do you really believe that when you come into like the notion of adrenaline dump and the fact that he talked for a long time, like he didn't even touch boxing gloves during his workouts because he knew that he still had an animal in him that needed to be tamed. What scares me more is that he was serious and he knew himself that well, and he still allowed that beast out.
Well, I think I think John Keys probably needs to be on the promotion team for Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. for this fight, because you really made the case for it. You know what I mean? In what you're saying. So, just my thoughts.
You know, talking about taming the beast. I mean, Naruto had Kurama, the nine tails within him. And
here we go.
You know, it took them 100 and some odd episodes for them to do the fist bump, but eventually they did the fist bump and they became even more dangerous. So you got that. This could be our Naruto moment.
And I'm gonna throw a John Jones and DC comment in there just so we can take another shot.
So the fourth point brought up by this article is the fact that there is still the chance that, you know, these two older gentlemen could still get hurt. Like, going, you know, it's one thing that you're sparring in practice. It's another thing to go full out, you know, in front of all these cameras. There's a lot of risk for both of these fighters in the fact that we don't know how well they're going to hold up to the types of shots that they are going to be taking potentially taking in this fight. So, you know, I'm a bit nervous. I'm excited to watch this, and I think that I'm definitely going to be, you know, right on the front row of my chair, I guess, in my office watching this fight. But at the end of the day, I'm excited to see it. But I there is a chance that these fighters could turn up lame in the first round, and there'd be a big disappointment.
My neck. My
back. My neck and my back. I want 125,000. We can set out of court right now. $20.
Right now.
$20.
Don't be concerned.
It's final.
Don't be concerned. We got two fighters here that love what they do. They love what they've done. They're gonna love what they do tonight on Saturday night. Don't be afraid. They know the risks. Let these old warriors go out there, and they're either gonna come back with their shield or on it.
I'm a little bummed about this fight though, because this is one of those fights that you would get so much more hype if you were in a group setting. Like, I'm going to love this fight. I'm not going to love it the same way I would love it if I was watching the fight with y'all live, or if I was able to go to a local sports bar and watch that, right? Because, like, you kind of feed off the energy of everybody else for a fight of this magnitude. So it's such a disservice that it's happening in the second wave of COVID, because I was texting my friend this last week talking about the fight, and we're kind of breaking down what we were thinking was going to happen. And I'm looking at this like, man, I'm going to watch this by my lonesome, and I'm going to be hyped, but not the same way as if somebody else is like, oh, you know? So we're in a weird spot for boxing. This is like, I'm so glad. And when we talk about like the stakes being high for Mike Tyson, I think the bigger stakes were just proving that people want to watch like a legacy fight league. and the pay-per-view will show that day. But at the end of the day, I think it's already starting to be a success. Maybe we're just at the right spot where people are starved for any kind of entertainment. But I mean, I know people who haven't been boxing fans in years who are going to tune into this. So I think it's already a success.
That's awesome. Last story from this fight is the rest of the card. Has anyone looked at the rest of the card?
I saw that mess. There's one fight that just pretty much just ruined it for me, and that was Logan Paul versus somebody.
Boo.
Yeah, well, it's Jake Paul.
Boo.
Jake Paul. I'm sorry.
Jake Paul, his brother.
Paul,
yeah.
Versus
basketball player Nate Robinson.
Oh, I hope he gets hurt.
Nate Robinson.
I don't even care. I'm going on record. I hope he gets hurt.
Yeah, Nate Robinson. I think he played for the Heat, and he played for the Hornets, I believe. But he was a basketball player, 5'9". He's going to fight up against Jake Paul. You've got former UFC heavyweight Rashad Coulter, and he's fighting YouTuber Vidal Riley. Yeah, it's a bit of a mess in the undercard. I don't know, man. This is we're probably going to watch a lot of ugly fights in order to get to this main event. So just something to be out there. Dana White had comments on this. He was laughing at the regulations because of the fact that, they're not allowed to knock each other out. They're not allowed to, you can't bet. I guess Dana White saying you can't bet on the fight.
Yeah. Okay.
No, because there's no winner or loser.
Oh yeah. So it's a lot of strangeness, and so Dana White was laughing about it and saying, this is quite the circus.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are upset that you can't bet on it.
Yeah. So let's go on to some of the other stories that are making waves. This was tied for our number one story of the day, and that is Anderson Silva being cut from the UFC. This happened last week. We might have touched on it a little bit, but now that he's released from his contract, Anderson Silva had something to say, and he said, "I didn't want to talk about this subject, especially because I'm on vacation. The saying goes, a deal's a deal. I'll make it clear to all my fans that this is a moment of joy and gratitude. I feel free after an attempt to force my retirement. I love and have always loved what I do. Winning and losing are a part of it. It has absolutely nothing to do with age. I made technical mistakes and lost, but I didn't lose what's most important, the will and desire to continue to doing what I love. I still have the warrior spirit and that burning flame in my heart that motivates me. I have total belief that I can continue to compete in the elite of MMA. I take this moment to reflect about my career and plan my next moves. Stay tuned." So,
how many times have you watched Demetrius Johnson and his new promotion?
I watched one of his fights. I think he's fought maybe 3 times. I've watched one of them.
Do you think it'd be higher or lower likelihood that you would watch Anderson Silva in ONE FC?
I would just look at the results. I probably wouldn't look at watching Anderson Silva.
And
unless he started wrecking people.
One. Yeah. It's not a diss against ONE FC because I highly recommend watching ONE FC. It's really good. But to see him there, no, man, come on, dude. Retire, train somebody. Take Uriah Hall underneath your wing and train him. Do something else. That would be scary legit.
The only place I could see him having like a really actual decent career would be as if he focused on jiu-jitsu and just kind of did the jiu-jitsu circuit for a bit. Just win a bunch of championships. He's got some fighters that he's trained who, like Gabby Garcia, who continues to fight both MMA and train with jiu-jitsu. It's a legitimate path where someone in their mid-40s can be at the top of their game. I think for Anderson, while he has been a technical striker his whole time, he's too slow to be competitive at any professional level at this point. Like his chin high, hands low we all know the angle that your punches are coming from now. So to say that you'd be competitive in MMA is not really believable. But that doesn't take away from the fact that he's an amazing ground game practitioner. He just doesn't show it often. It's a sad spot in his career, and honestly, his options are limited. He's got bare knuckle FC, ONE FC, maybe Bellator.
Nope.
But none of
Scott Coker's already ruled that out.
See, so
PFL also ruled it out.
There's nothing for him to do. This is just. I wish he wasn't as big a star as he is now, because there haven't been enough people in his camp to just show him like, bruh, you got away with 8 additional years after your leg was broken. You're no longer playing with house money. You've spent all of that. You're back into digging into your own pocket, your own legacy now.
So why is it then, and I'm going to dig it back up just for a moment. Why is it then that when Dana White says it, it's disrespect?
It's disrespect because of the timing of when Dana White says it and how he says it, right? So Dana White leading up to it had a great opportunity to lean into the legacy that was Silva. But even leading up to the fight, there seemed to be animosity in the way that reporters were asking Anderson questions about retirement and all of that. So Dana White doesn't know how to take the high road. So I think had he said anything remotely positive leading up to it, it's a different story. But right after a fighter just lost is not the time to say, hey, you're trash. That's really what it comes down to.
Let me just go back to this, because I'm incensed by it. And that is, you guys keep quoting Dana White as saying that a fighter is trash. Okay. You guys keep quoting Dana White and saying that, and Dana White isn't saying this. He did not say this. Go back and look at the transcripts. I'm going to go back and watch 255.
Anderson Silva?
I'm going to go back and watch 255, but he did not call Anderson Silva trash. He Bruh.
Okay.
I mean, it's either a verifiable fact or it's not. I mean, we can go back and watch the post-fight press conference. Not till after January 16th.
Oh no, I'm just gonna mail it or send you an Uber Eats from Texas Roadhouse.
You would have to, because I'm right.
Texas Roadhouse.
Roadhouse. But we keep quoting Dana White as saying these horrible things, and while Dana White may be critical, Dana White isn't saying it to the level that we keep characterizing his language. And so I think it's important for us not to lend hyperbole to these quotes from Dana White.
Okay, so you're saying we can't use alternative facts. Is that what you're saying?
We can't.
Okay.
We can't.
Oh, this is fake news. I'm out.
All right. So keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open.
Of the UFC, Dana White.
Oh no! Why?
Oh, that's right. That is true. They're good.
Oh, no.
They're boys.
Why?
They're boys.
Why? Come on, man. Come on, man. Like, okay. So, but let's keep our eye out for where Anderson Silva lands. Clearly, it's not going to be Bellator. It's not going to be PFL.
Backyard Fighting League.
It may be BFB, Bare Knuckle FC.
Hey, I'm saying Rio Heroes. Okay, I'm telling you, he's going to end up there, dude. That's just nothing but
before we move on, I do want to throw in just one so that we can circle back when history calls for it. But his other Brazilian fighter who should have retired by now, Scarface.
Jose Aldo?
Yeah, I think it's time for him as well. And there's no great way to usher him out. So I think that might be another one of those. If he takes a loss anytime soon, he's done.
All right, we'll have to see. Peter Yan definitely did some work on Jose Aldo in his last fight. Speaking of Peter Yan, visa issues have caused him to withdraw from UFC 256, which means that Aljamain Sterling is going to have to wait even longer before he gets that coveted title shot. So looks like they're going to try to get it done in 2021, but we're going to have to see when that's going to happen. Peter Yan had some challenges with the flight and the visa, and he missed the deadline in order to make that fight.
Isn't the president friends with the president of the UFC?
Yeah.
Just make that happen.
Yeah.
I feel like, how do you ever have visa issues when you know the president?
Hold on.
You know, I don't know that you can use the president, even if he is your friend. I don't know that you could just be like, yo, Peter Yan missed the deadline for visa, so can you call the State Department? Can you just let Peter Yan in for me, please? I don't think you can do
They'll
that.
be like, oh yeah, man, yeah. We'll make that happen. It'll be bigly. It'll be the greatest thing to ever happen.
Oh my God, we're gonna lose all.
We're gonna lose everybody. Hey, we gained some people. Look, it's just like this. He's been MIA. Dang, it sucks. Yeah. Hey, a butt kicking is gonna wait. Okay, a butt kicking is gonna come at some point. Is it gonna be Yan kicking Aljo's butt, or is it gonna be the other way around? We don't know, but we know it's going to happen. Let's be patient and let's let it happen.
Okay, all right. Speaking of someone who's gotten his butt kicked, and has kicked a lot of butt, is Cody Garbrandt. And
no love.
Cody Garbrandt has talked about the long-term COVID effects that he's had. So he talked about the fact that August 29th he had COVID-19, and since then he's been battling vertigo. He tore a vein in his bicep, which resulted in the finding out that he's got blood clots. He's had pneumonia. He's had mental fog. All these types of things are symptoms that he's been fighting with in his attempt to return to the UFC and fight again. So, it's interesting that a UFC fighter is talking about some of the long-term effects that he's having with suffering from COVID-19.
I have to apologize to all the fighters up front, because at the start of this, I was like, man, you guys are still professional fighters. You can get it done training at home. You can't. I'm trying it myself. It's difficult. It's, man, I was wrong.
Kelechi admits he was wrong.
More often than I wish it did, but I was wrong. Like, these fighters are going through it. And then to have actually had COVID, I think I love that he's coming forward talking about it, because a lot of people miss, like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's just like any cold I've had. I know people who've had COVID and said that, but then those after effects kick in, and all of a sudden, like, it's a whole different beast. And I think sometimes it just takes people shining a light on it, that there's so many levels to this. And this is, like, we got to be real about this. Like, this second shutdown is hard, but, like, could you imagine your whole livelihood requires you to be a fighter, and, like, you don't have time to train properly, you don't have access to the facilities, and now when you do get this stuff back, all the things that you had before aren't quite the same, like your lung capacity, all this other stuff. It's, man, we're in a whole different world.
Wait, you said there's a second shutdown. Are you shut down, George?
Oh, just
are you shut down? We in Texas. We ain't shut down.
We in Texas.
Yeah.
Well, maybe in Colorado.
This is exactly why I'm not
coming
back to Texas for Thanksgiving.
up at Factory X, the lights are out. Yeah. The gym floor is cold.
Yeah.
Look, the weekend cleaning crew showing up, be like, damn, it's the cleanest we ever seen it. Yeah, ain't nobody been in there since last week.
Man.
So a few, what was it, last week, George, you talked about the fact that you really wanted to see Chaos Williams' career continue to grow and you to see him do well. So he's been booked for another fight, December 19th, Michael Pereira. Yeah. Chaos Williams versus Michael Pereira, UFC Vegas 17, December 19th, in the Apex Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. This is a dangerous fight. You talked about the fact that while a 27-second fight and a 30-second fight is definitely something to celebrate, but we're going to see if he's got those holes in his game fixed or not. Coach, what do you think?
This is a bad fight for him, I feel like. And I know people are going to say that, oh, I'm just hating or whatever. No, I don't think this is a good fight for him. I think he needs to take one or two more almost filler fights and then fight somebody like Pereira.
Yeah, this is a scary fight.
He needs more octagon time.
Well, I mean, when you're a fighter, I guess, hey, it's on the job training every time, and he's about to get.
No, it
He's
doesn't
about
have
to
to be
get.
management should be making better decisions for you. You shouldn't be leaving a person's career up to the haphazards of, okay, well, where can we toss him up next? No, somebody should be in your corner saying, look, dude, let's slow walk this a little bit. Let's slow this down. Let's make the most of it. Let's build your resume. And at the same time, also build you up as a fighter. We need to build your confidence. You're tossing him in here against the guy. I don't know who Mike's last fights were, but I do know this is a highlight reel guy. And just because Chaos has 2 in under 30 seconds doesn't mean he's on par with this guy just yet.
Yeah.
I really wish they would slow it down for him and let this brother work his way through, man. Don't think about what they did with Kevin Trailblazer.
Yep.
He's had 7 fights in the UFC. Think about, can anybody name anybody that he's fought? And I don't mean that as a diss. What I'm saying is
the only notable person that he's fought is Thiago Santos, and that was a late fight replacement, and that was like his first coming into the UFC after Dana White's Tuesday Contender Series. So,
but you get what I'm saying, like,
yes.
So, and that's what they should be doing with Chaos. And also, they need to have him working with a spokesperson or what would you call it? Someone who could
with PR.
I don't mean that a PR person. Someone who can help him with that.
Yeah,
those are the 2 things they need. They need to build this guy slowly. Hopefully, he goes out here and he does well, but that puts him right back in the same boat. They're going to turn around and want to put him up against somebody better the next time. They're not going to let this guy walk through and get his skill set straight, and they need to, man, because they've got something on their hands.
Well,
speaking of Chaos Williams, speaking of facts, John Keys, apparently, what's his name, Joaquin Buckley?
Yeah, Joaquin Buckley.
Joaquin Buckley and Chaos have, I guess, worked or trained together at Murcielago up in Detroit or something to that effect.
No.
But I heard Buckley can't stay in a camp too long. They say he gets tossed around or that he hops around in different fight camps. So I don't know how,
Well, not everybody can train, in those big camps. And probably the person who is most notable about not training in a traditional fight camp is El Kukui, Tony Ferguson.
I love your segues, Ryan.
Hey, man, I'm trying to keep the show going.
We're done with this topic. We move it on to the next one.
We're going to move on to the
next. Speaking of big training camps, Tony Ferguson doesn't have
one. So Tony Ferguson has been chasing after Michael Chandler, right? Everybody wants wants a piece of the new blood coming into the UFC, really wants to do that introduction. And of course, Chandler's playing coy, really wants to lock down that Conor McGregor fight on his first time out. So since Tony Ferguson could not get the Michael Chandler fight, he's decided to go into the ring with Charles do Bronx Oliveira. And so we're going to see a really good fight here. Is it just me, or does Tony Ferguson and Charles Oliveira look like the same person?
I can see what you're going with that.
Put them side by side. It just looks like it's Tony Ferguson, and then it's Tony Ferguson with blonde hair.
Kind of like Scorpion and
Sub-Zero.
There it is.
Nice.
I tried.
Finish him.
Yeah. So it is. They look a lot alike, and it was striking to me in seeing them. So their fight styles, all they bring a full complement of skills both on the feet and on the ground. So I think it's going to be a great fight. Tony Ferguson's opening as a slight betting favorite against Charles Oliveira. So I'm interested to see that. UFC 256 is when it's going to happen. I think that's in December.
December 8th.
There's some big cards coming up.
Some really good cards.
Really good. That's going to be a good one. I'm excited. Tony, for me, needs a win just to like bring back a little more of his luster.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's kind of fallen off a bit. Like I guess his name
has
gets
he
drowned out.
Has he fallen off? You can't fall off after one fight.
Yeah, no.
But
so
you can't go forward. Yeah, he can't go forward after one fight. Man, come on, man.
His skill set hasn't dropped at all. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying like headlines. He's not making headlines as much, right? Like his social media score is down for some reason.
Q rating, right?
Yeah,
and that's fair. But how can you be relevant when you've got Khabib Nurmagomedov retiring, Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor going back and forth, Michael Chandler comes in, like.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying he needs a win just to splash his name on some headlines again.
Yeah.
Like, because I think he is that caliber of fighter who will for sure be challenging for the title soon enough again. But that's a lot of stuff happening in his weight class. Like, it's hard for him to be the man.
Right.
I'm rooting
for the breaks.
All right. Let's go ahead and get into what's happening this weekend with the fight card. All right, we talked about it. Now it's time to make our picks. You got Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. November 20th, 2020 at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, California. We've got 4 fights on the card. We're only going to pick the main event. Unless you guys are feeling comfortable.
We're not. We're not.
So we got Vidal Riley versus Rashad Coulter. You got Badu Jack versus Blake Kernan. You've got Jake Paul versus Nate Robinson. And then in the main event of the evening, Iron Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. for the WBC Frontline Championship. So there are Vegas odds. You can't bet on them, but Mike Tyson's coming in at a -220. Roy Jones is currently sitting at a +170. The over-under for 7.5 rounds, over's at a +150. Under is a -180. So people are looking for this fight to be very quick. I think we've all talked about it. So let's go ahead and make your picks. George, G-Money Stallworth, before you fall asleep, who you got?
Called him out.
I'm going with Mike, man. At least at this junction.
All right. Kelechi.
Because there is no way to actually bet, and I don't know how betting works, I'm going to go ahead and call this a draw. But it will go the distance.
Okay. John Keys.
I'm gonna call until I see the actual the final weigh-in. I want to call Mike Tyson by assault and battery, consensual, in the first round.
How is assault and battery consensual?
Because you think you want it until you actually start getting it, and then you're like, "Oh, wait a minute, dog! I was playing," and that's what's gonna happen.
My guy said consensual assault and battery.
All my law professors, if they can see me now.
All right. Here we go. For my pick, you may recall last week I made a pick, but I was given by George the ability to change my pick. So last week I picked Roy Jones Jr. because I wanted to show some respect to Roy Jones while everyone else was not. And so this week I'm sticking with it. I'm going to go Roy Jones Jr. There we go. Ryan Smith is going with Roy Jones Jr. I'm not confident in that pick at all because I do think y'all are right. But somebody's got to take the underdog.
So nobody's going to take a dispel from Mike.
Nobody going to take a dispel from Mike. Guess what? y'all may not know this because it's been overshadowed by Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr., but UFC Vegas 15, Blaydes versus Lewis, Saturday, November 28th, 2020 at the UFC Apex Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. We have 5 fights on the card. Devin Clark versus Anthony Lionheart Smith. Dude is at the bottom of a main card now.
How the mighty have fallen. I saw that. And I was
At
like,
least, well, wait a minute. At least we could say that he's still on the main card. Okay.
One more loss and he won't be.
And he doesn't deserve to be. Let's be honest. Like, he got his teeth handed to him. Literally.
Wait. What happened to us giving the respect to the fighters? Now it's like he don't deserve to be on no main card. What?
I mean,
Dana White.
Been hanging out with Dana White too long.
Okay,
yeah.
You must be on my side. You are on my side of the line, so I'm gonna let you have it. You go right ahead. You say all you want. Michael Beza versus Takashi Sato. You've got Gina Mazzani versus Rachel Ostovich. Everybody follows Rachel Ostovich on Instagram. I don't see why she's a UFC fighter. I don't, but go at it. If you can do it, you do it. Josh Parisian versus Parker Porter in the co-main. I don't know either one of these fighters. So it'll be interesting to watch. Actually, who am I kidding? I'm going to be watching Roy Jones Jr. and I'm going to watch that fight. Curtis Blaydes versus the Black Beast, Derek Lewis. I am excited about this fight. So we're going to only pick that fight. John Keys, who you got? Curtis Blaydes or Derek Lewis?
My head says Curtis Blaydes. My heart says Derek Lewis. I'm going to go with my heart this time. I think Derek Lewis is going to pull it out somehow.
Okay, all right. Kelechi KC. Onyebuchi.
Ditto, but opposite. Like, head says Curtis, heart says Blade. Wait, what?
So you're going with Curtis Blaydes. That is pretty opposite.
I'm going with
Curtis Blaydes.
Yeah, apparently so. It's all you.
Right.
You're all there, man. You're all there.
All right. George Stallworth.
But the Black Beast gets it done and shuts him down in round 3.
All right. I'm gonna
It's a long beating.
Okay, and I was very complimentary of Curtis Blaydes in the past. I had said that Curtis Blaydes was representing the new talent coming in, the new guard coming into the UFC and taking on someday being a champion. It didn't really manifest for me though. So I think Derek Lewis is going to get it done. I think it'll go to decision, but I'm going to go with Derek Lewis. KC?
I disagree.
You everybody's on Derek Lewis except for you. So this is your chance to pound that crow button.
Hoping
all
for
right.
the best.
All right. Follow us on social media. On Instagram, I'm at Combat Sports Talk. John.
I'm at Keys to Victory, and that's Keys with an ES.
Kelechi.
I am at Push Pull Pray on Instagram.
And George.
Darkside _ Muay Thai _ on the gram.
All right. And you can find us on our website at www.combatsportstalk.com. And we are on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. Be sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment for us. We will respond. Shout out to MMA Junkie, MMA Mania, MMA Fighting, and Bloody Elbow, as well as the Intelligent Defense Discussion Group. That's where these conversations happen, and those are the places where we get a lot of the stories we use for our show. Here's all the places you can find Combat Sports Talk, so definitely check us out on your favorite platform. And on behalf of George G Money Stallworth, Kelechi KC Onyebuchi, and John Keys, I'm Ryan Smith, reminding you to keep your hands up, your chin tucked, and throw bombs. We'll catch you next time.